Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of a double feature where we are looking at Fritz Lang's 1931 masterpiece M. If you haven't read our reviews, go to www.adoublefeature.com and go and read what we've said and then come right back and join us for this discussion. We'll wait. Okay, glad to have you back. All right. With that out of the way, Thane, the first question I want to address at you. At the very end of the movie, after the speech, after the criminals are deciding that they're going to exterminate this very mentally ill man, the police come in and save him. Where the lines that the police give are "stop in the name of the law." The very next scene, we get the court where he's on trial and the judge stands up to give the verdict and says, quote, "in the name of the people." And then it fades to the mother and then goes black. What then do you see as the difference or distinction between those two lines, "in the name of the law" and "in the name of the people"? If this is just done in the name of the people, shouldn't the criminals have the authority to put him on trial?
The line comes to us almost from two separate viewpoints, and that's the way that I took it, at least. The first viewpoint is the police officers talking to the mob, saying, "in the name of the law, stop what you're doing," really excluding us, the audience, from this conversation, saying, "Audience, you're not a part of this. This is the law, and we have a right to stop this murder because they don't have any justification, or they don't have any," I shouldn't say justification, they do have justification, they don't have any authority to kill somebody. Whereas I think in the courtroom, Lang's wording is very focused on us, the audience. He's not speaking to anybody in the movie. I really think the judges are speaking to us and saying, "Okay, the people, what do you think?" You know, and that's this whole reason for fading out as well. It's in the name of the people, so in the name of the audience, fade. You know, what do you think the verdict is? And I actually really liked that because it's a very good question. And you know, as we talked about, both of us in our reviews, that this question of being mentally ill but murdering children, I mean, that's a tough one. But I think the ending is more meant to talk to us rather than anyone in the film.
Well, I think the reason why I asked that is just the way that Lang has created these shots. So when we're in the underground, the factory, the cellar of the factory,
right?
He makes a point to show just how crowded that place is with people. There's so many people in there. They're just basically sitting on each other. It's so jam-packed. Whereas in the courthouse, there is just the judge. That's all we see. So by simply saying "in the name of the people," I think what Lang is doing is referring us back to that previous scene where we saw the people and what the people were trying to do. Whereas, you know, it's just this big circle. The law was getting us towards the judge was taking us back to that shot of the criminals. And that's ultimately that question of, if the law does reside back there with just that room crowded full of people, why don't they have the authority?
I don't know. I just have this problem with agreeing to the idea that criminals have the same jurisdiction that I do. I mean, I'm not a criminal, so and the criminal fraternity I don't really understand. I've never been so desperate that I have to do X, Y, Z, or I've never been homeless, or I've never been, you know, any of these things. So I don't really understand that mindset. But I just think that we as a society are meant to inspire those around us. That is our purpose. That is something that is not only understood via divinity, via religion, but I just think the foundations of our country were built on this idea that we just do good to those around us. I mean, that's the Boy Scout motto. Lots of people have adopted this. We just do good to those around us, and we help those around us. And so, I
think you equivocated right there, because first you said our job is to inspire people, and then you said it is to do good. And I'd sort of rebut with the first time we meet the underground council, they start talking about Safecracker, and they are really inspired by him because he's done, all of these great jobs. He's never been caught. He got out of all of these situations, and they inspired them to do even more and to do even better. And we could maybe even say they even inspire each other to do good, because as they're talking about their justification for why they need to get this guy is they appeal to a code. They appeal to business sense. They appeal to providing for family, to providing for friends and those less fortunate for them. They're just happening to do it in a way that is outside of the normal, I guess, more mainstream agreed upon manner of doing things. So within their society, don't they have that same jurisdiction?
Yeah, I mean, touche. I can't. That's a fantastic rebuttal. And I think I think that's Lang's point. Lang's point is so good at spending this entire movie getting us into the mindset of both the police, the criminals, and this man who's murdering children. So by the end, I mean, maybe this was just me, but by the end, I was like, man, I'm feeling sympathy for everybody. I don't know what the right choice is. I don't know what I would do, and it really caused me to think, and that, I think, made Lang happy. So you talk about responsibility, which I will admit I did agree with that, with your viewpoint, but I kind of want to pick at your response a little bit and just dig a little deeper. So you mentioned the two quotes, I have them right here. In war, there are no innocent victims, and then we get the war we deserve. And those, again, being associated with responsibility. Now, at what point does responsibility and agency meet? I mean, does that make sense? When does my ability to choose outweigh the responsibility that I have to do X, Y, Z?
Those two things, agency or freedom, if you will, and responsibility are completely intertwined, and it is impossible to have one without the other. If you want to make a choice, it is only because you're responsible for that choice and for the other people around you and interacting with you. He'd look at this film and look at the very beginning of it, and we have this first child, whoever it was, disappears. And probably the vast majority of people chose then to ignore it and just, that's a tragedy. This child was killed. And then a second, and then a third, and then a fourth. And this, we get from the movie, this is going on for years. But it is only sort of right around Elsie's death that the city then awakens and erupts and says, okay, this is a real problem. When Sartre would said, you deserved that problem. And I think that's sort of what the police were getting at as well. Mm-hmm. You deserve that problem because when it first reared its head years ago, you chose to stay in your own little worlds and said, oh, too bad for that family. And they did the same thing with the second and third and fourth and however many, until it got out of hand and their choices created this environment. Sartre's lover, de Beauvoir, said it even better when she said, to be free is not to have the ability to do whatever you want. To be free is the ability to surpass the given towards an open future, and it is other men who give me that future.
Okay.
So there's the responsibility coming in. We're responsible to each other because we're building the opportunities each other have, and we are laying out the choices that we each have in order then to exercise that freedom.
So
then it works for something else.
Okay, so essentially you're telling me that I am a product of what's happened to me, not the choices I've made.
No. You're still a product of the choices, but it's other people who gave you those choices.
Interesting.
So for example, let's say you were in high school. Your parents made you, I'm presuming, go to school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, just with that, you had a choice. You had a choice to either go to school or not go to school.
Right.
I highly doubt at any point in your high school career did that choice ever dawn on you that you could go to a different school. Because probably there was nobody in there presenting that as an option for you. You just saw the one option that was given, saw the choices involved in that option, and acted however you wanted, depending on all of those circumstances.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, it's the same thing. Let's say you're a black woman in the 1930s in the Deep South, and you want to be a police officer. There is no way you'll be able to act on that and stay there in the South, probably not even in the North, because nobody is going to be willing to give you those options. You're not going to be able to get any schools. You're not going to get any training. You won't be able to put on a badge. Right. And so the choices of others effectively hedge you in. And then all of those other people, that society is held responsible for thwarting the desires of that individual.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. In connection with everything we've talked about today, I just wanted to really open this up because I think this is something that we need to talk about. And I hope that those watching with us today or whenever you're watching this, I hope you're kind of joining in this conversation because this is something so important to talk about. And I would love to hear other people's feedbacks. I mean, I've known Derek quite a while, so I kind of know how he thinks, but I would love to hear other responses. And what do you guys think? I mean, do we have choice? Do we have responsibility? How does that fit in with your life, and what do you think the connection between the two is? And I just hope people respond.
Yeah, and right along with that, what's the connection? Where does law ultimately reside? Is it with the people? Is it with an abstract notion? Who has that? Yeah. I mean, these are some great questions. We'd love to hear your comments. So let us know in the comments below, or hop over to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Google Plus, or our website. You can find links to all of that in the description below. And until then, come back tomorrow when you'll get to see what our next film will be. See you later, guys.
See ya.